Won't have seen the film. Do you want to give a little quick recap of the general thrust of the film, what it's about?
It's about a man, an 84-year-old man who goes back to school when Kenya announced free education for everybody. He goes back to school and demands that he wants to learn to read. And this man became the poster boy for education throughout Africa. He ended up coming to America and speaking at the UN about the power of education. And this film also deals with his past. He was involved in the fight for independence that the Kenyans had, and he was a Mau Mau veteran. And so it deals with themes of the war and the past and how we understand our past to move on. And at the heart of it is him going to school with these amazing children who are just exquisite.
Style of, I don't know, maybe it's not a different style movie, but a very different topic for a movie comes the first grader. So you go from the Berlin girl to first grader. How did you run across this material? And is that in your wheelhouse, as we say? I mean, was that sort of out of left field for you, or do you have some kind of rich background in Kenya that we don't know about?
No, I'm not at all. I mean, the opposite. I picked up the script because David Thompson, who was a producer who I'd worked with for many times, many years, sent it to me, so I knew it would be interesting. And it was this article that was in the LA Times about this old guy that had broken this Guinness Book of Records by being 84 and wanted to go back to school and demanded his free education along with everybody else, when Kenyan government announced that. So I thought that was an intriguing story, and I asked them to send me down to Kenya. Went to Kenya, only supposed to go to Kenya for a few days while we saw if it was possible to do a few GVs and a few general shots and then go and do the real filming in South Africa. So I went down and I met the man that it's based on and spent a lot of time with him. Phoned up the producers that night and said, listen, there's no way we can shoot this in South Africa. We're going to shoot it here in Kenya. With that, all the kind of, the producers but I wanted to make it in a certain way. I thought I started spending time there with him and in the country, and these stories started to emerge because I didn't know this period of history.
Yeah, I'm sure most of us wouldn't either.
And the British had destroyed the colonial records, and the Kenyans didn't know this history either because their first president said we move on from the past. So it was just a snowball effect. And I went in with 8 people. The ethos was that we would cast and crew from there. We wouldn't be like these huge big international films that ship the food, the crew, the cast from everywhere else. It was a film that we thought we would I really believed that if the talent wasn't there, we would train the talent and incorporate that talent. And with that, we were received open arms, and I found one little school and I cast every single pupil in the school. You probably remember your first grade.
Sure.
I remember my first class. They're all the little characters that you have for life. They set you up. They so inform your kind of relationships and the people that you see. So I thought it can't be any different in Manchester, England, than it can be in the middle of Kenya. So I basically chose a school that was beautifully placed because I wanted the photography to be stunning. I wanted it to be breathtaking. I wanted it to be a cinematic experience. So I chose one school and I just cast the whole school.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I went in on my own at first and watched the children and observed them and let them come to me rather than me. And then I would guide the roles in the film to those children that I saw. And I found this amazing community, 2.5 hours away from the city, no water, no electricity. These kids had never seen a movie, they'd never seen a TV. These kids were so bright, they were so shy. To even look at an adult in the eye was disrespectful. So I went in and they kind of, came slowly towards me and started to reveal stuff about themselves and their characters. And I just placed the ones that I thought were actually the shyest ones as those leading roles. And that little girl plays Agnes. I mean, she was a little girl that had been hidden away because, of her disability, and this little girl plays one of the main parts in it. She's got this amazing aura around her. She's a wonderful child. But they kept me on my toes because they just saw me as a teacher, and so I'd go action, and then I'd have to put a lesson on the board, and And for Naomi Harris, the leading actress to play, who's playing the teacher, she'd have to do a proper lesson. When I shouted cut, they'd be pulling on my sleeve, going, "Teacher Justin," wanting me to mark their work. So their reactions were so truthful and so real that, I think it gives the film an immediacy to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I assume they've now seen the film?
No, we go back next month.
Is that right?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be something.
Yeah, I mean, for them to see their first moving image as this film and themselves, and they're such the heartbeat of the film, these children, these amazing children.
Have you been to Seattle before?
No.
Okay, so...
It's beautiful driving in, especially the weather seems to have turned. May's a beautiful month. I thought it was going to be like England. It was going to be raining the whole time.
We're more like London with the rain than not, but I know you happen to hit it on a gorgeous day, and maybe, hopefully, even for a weekend. And so, talk a bit about, since you haven't had a chance to be in Seattle, what it's like for you to have a film opening a festival, especially one here in Seattle, since that's where we happen to be.
You know what? I think that the festival here is supported and run by film lovers. It's not an industry thing. It's not somebody chasing this or promoting that. It seems to be run and supported by people here in Seattle who are in love with film and who want to go to film, and those are the crowds that go in, and it's heavily supported. I mean, look at how many theatres. I mean, doesn't it run for like three and a half weeks? I mean, that's going to be a record-breaking festival if ever there was one. Yeah. And the fact that it snowballs. I mean, it just keeps going, and it's strong, and it's well loved by people and well supported. So for us to be chosen to be a part of that, is a great thing for us. But to be opening it, it's an honour. Yeah. That's why I've come here, and I'm just excited to be part of that, because I think we need, in modern times, we do need stories coming from all sorts of different areas and places of the world, and different stories as a kind of antidote to those bigger. Much as I love the Hollywood movies and the big thing, they've got this big publicity machine. Whereas opportunities like with the Seattle Film Festival, where these films come in from different parts of the world, where audience love them and go, "Oh, I didn't know that, I didn't know this," or "Oh gosh, wow, look." And I think that human beings love to gather in the dark and watch interesting stories. Yeah. And there should be a place in modern culture, and it's festivals like the Seattle Festival that help keep that. And I think it's an incredible part of our culture that we have that. And so, thank you, Seattle, for welcoming us.
Oh, I think the reception tonight will be ecstatic. I mean, it's a great opening night feature film too. I mean, that's one of the great things about opening night features is they try to sort of set a tone for the rest of the festival. And it's international, and it's also incredibly inspirational, and and
it celebrates life. It celebrates life, and and we so take our education for granted. In the West, in my country, we have got problems in education that in the public education, and we are not attracting enough teachers, inspiring teachers, to come into the profession. Yeah. And they're so undervalued and so under kind of resourced in the country, and in my country, and I think that if this film just inspires people to go back and look at that and talk about that, but also talk about this man who never gave up. Never ever gave up. At 89, he didn't.
Yeah, on his deathbed, he's still having a teacher visit.
I mean, this guy was determined, and you'll see the scenes in the film. Those were true scenes. They were true events that happened to him. He was the one that said, simple thing, but the power is in the pen. And we have to understand our past to be able to understand our future. This is a man that has grown up under that colonial times and still wants to learn, still wants to expand his mind. It's inspiring.